Hello, everybody. Got a bit of an interesting story here. It's from GB News. I'll share it below. Please do read it yourself as well. Don't just listen to what I'm saying and my opinions. We'll get straight into it. I think this is going to be quite an annoying article. Not the article itself, but the topic. Because it just goes against everything that's basically common sense. Because we have weak politicians who don't have the spine or the political will to do what most people think would be reasonable political decisions. So anyway, Britain's grooming gangs. For those of you who don't know, by the way, people who don't live in the United Kingdom, there's a scandal that's happened here over maybe the last 30 to 40 years. It gets referred to as the grooming gangs. That's actually legal code wording for Pakistani, Bangladeshi, Muslim rape gangs of underage girls, overwhelmingly white Anglo-Saxon girls from troubled backgrounds. It's believed to be up to 1 million girls have been affected by it. It's a really, really, really big problem over here. It's still ongoing as well. These gangs still happening. So anyway, sanction countries like Pakistan for rejecting deportations, says Minister. I'm going to hold my opinions on that for a second. I'll read the first short paragraph, then we'll give some opinions then, because I think most people are going to be tearing their hair out thinking, why can't we just send people back? The safeguarding minister has said that it sounds sensible to impose visa sanctions on countries that do not accept grooming gang offenders being deported to their country of origin. Well, here's an idea. How about you just stick them on an effing plane and send them back anyway? What are they going to do? Declare war on us? What? Take your goddamn citizens back. We don't want them. And also sanction them as well. That is part of it, but we should just be chucking them on a plane and saying to them, you're having them back, tough poo-poo. If you don't like it, not our problem. So, Tory MP Laura Farris told GB News it was a principle of our domestic law for foreigners with a sentence of 2 years or longer to qualify for automatic deportation following the conclusion of their sentence. I'd say anything longer than a year myself. I mean, why the hell should somebody spend a year at His Majesty's leisure and have the right to carry on living here? And I mean, half the time these people don't even get deported anyway, which is even more infuriating. But the fact that they're even talking about other things other than just sending them back, I wouldn't even notify the countries. It's just a case of get on the plane, F off. We don't want you anymore. And strike them off the list of people who can come into the country from now on. So Mrs. Farris added that the deportation of foreign nationals offenders is embedded in our law and that it sounds sensible for countries such as Pakistan to face sanctions if they block the process. The minister made her comment as the Home Office announced that a specialist grooming gangs task force has made over 400 arrests. But I mean, the other issue is with this is we supposedly have all these laws. They never get enforced. And even though these things are supposed to be legal and lawful, we have all these human rights lawyers who keep taking all these cases through the courts and stopping all these people from getting deported anyway. It's absolutely insane. And this again comes down to the weakness of our political class, because we all saw it during the Brexit process. Whichever way you voted in that, it's undeniable that the political class and people in like the courts and the judiciary and legal experts and even people in business tried to move heaven and earth to prevent us from leaving the EU. They absolutely can motivate themselves to do things when they want to. The same with lockdown. They locked down the entire country within a week. Like, we're just going to 2 weeks to flatten the curve. That went on for God knows how long, didn't it? So they try and pull the wool over our eyes, saying that they can't do these things. They absolutely can when they want to. Believe you me, anything that we didn't want. We had the largest protest in this country was for the Second Gulf War, which Tony Blair took us into anyway. 1 million people marched on the streets of London, but they were hell bent on doing it. So guess what happened? We went to Iraq. That was the end of it. When they want to do something, they'll do it. So police have secured several high-profile convictions of rape gang abusers, but deportation of foreign national offenders are rarer. Yeah, they are, because there's no political will to do it, and that's the problem. It's not that we don't, as I say, we don't have the laws for it, and it's not that we don't have even precedents for doing it. There's just no will for it, and if anything, it's quite the opposite, especially amongst judges and lawyers and activists. They are hell-bent on keeping these criminals in here, probably because, a bit like with the family courts, it's become big business for them to do this, to engage in these kinds of things, and their entire source of income is based around these sorts of things. And I do think that's what it boils down to with 9 times out of 10 with these people, is for the overwhelming majority of them, it's all about the moolah, the cash, the wonga. lining their own nests, so to speak. The Nationality and Borders Act introduced a power to impose visa penalties on countries that do not cooperate on the removal of its nationals who do not have a right to be in the UK in 2022. So just do it then. Like, if it's in law, just do it. Like, if you are engaged in, I don't know, you don't pay your taxes, they will hesitate 0% in persecuting you to the full extent of the law. If you go speeding slightly over and you get caught on a camera, they will absolutely come after you and try and squeeze every single penny out of you that they're legally allowed to. Yeah, for some reason, when you have people who are in this country illegally and who aren't supposed to be here, and even worse, commit really serious crimes, we can't get rid of them. I mean, I've lost count of how many cases we've seen where it's such and such a body from whatever stand country has committed a serious crime against women and he's going to spend 15 years in prison. But guess what? We can't deport him because he'll be persecuted in his country of origin for committing those kinds of crimes against women. It's madness. It's absolute insanity that these people are running the country this way. Like, we are genuinely, and I've said this in quite a few videos, we are genuinely heading for a civilizational crisis. And I do believe, more than likely, civil war. Not in the case of, like you imagine, say, the American Civil War with two large opposing armies. More like what you see in South American countries, where you end up with large groups of bandits in the countryside and within cities battling it out in the streets. And the police and the army are sort of stuck in the middle, and it's sort of like three-way battles going on. That's the sort of thing that we're going to end up with. Because these so-called betters of ours who are running the country haven't got an effing clue what they're doing. They're just absolute brainlets and morons because they think everybody just wants to hold hands and sing Kumbaya, and they have no understanding that there are actual things called cultural differences amongst people, and that different groups of people actually have different values and standards and what they're willing to do and what they deem acceptable to do. It's insane. It's insane that these people can't see such basically obvious facts of reality. Yuri Bezmenov, I think, summed it up perfectly, where he said, until the boot, I'm going to paraphrase it, but he basically said, until the boot comes down on their heads, they will absolutely not admit any of the truth. It doesn't matter how much evidence you shove in the face. They will literally need the boot stamping down on them before they admit what is happening to be real. That is for what he described as demoralised people, he called them. Not demoralised like emotionally, like, you know, you've got low morale. It's basically gaslighting a population into believing lies. Say, like we in this country where people don't believe that mass immigration is a problem, even though we clearly can see the effects of mass migration and what it's doing to the country. But again, you can literally rub people's faces in it, and they'll just completely deny it because they're so demoralised by the ideology that they're unwilling to believe it. It's like the Wizard of Oz, I suppose, is a great analogy for that. You know, until the man behind the curtain is fully exposed, they just will not believe the lies. They'll keep believing the lies, I should say. So, Mrs. Farris references the sanctioned powers as sensible comes while foreign grooming gang abusers remain in Britain despite facing deportation orders after being convicted for 6 crimes. I mean, another thing we should be doing as well is bringing back the death penalty. I mean, that'd be another excellent solution with this. If people don't want to have arguments with foreign countries, it's like, right, fine, we're going to start hanging your citizens then. Either you take them back or we're going to lynch them. It's your choice. Either way is good for me. You know, I don't care. So you go back to wherever they're from, take your family with you. You're not taking any of your assets or your wealth back with you, I'm afraid. You've forfeited all of that with the horrendous crimes you've committed. Or we're going to lynch you, then we're going to deport your entire family, and we're going to take all your assets off you to cover the cost of doing that as well. So either way, who gives a F? So Kari Abdul Raif, 54, was part of a 9-strong gang of predominantly Pakistani men convicted of sex offences against girls in Rochdale in 2012. During the trial, Ralph said that the all-white jury was incapable of giving appropriate justice. Well, yeah, of course he thinks that, because he's not even thinking about it being all-white. He's thinking about it on religious grounds. And these people actually think that they have an actual religious right to do what they're doing. And it always struck me that the courts never charge these men with racism charges. I know it's not much, but just on top of it, because they often refer to these girls as being white slags, and that they targeted them because they were white. Yet they were never charged with racism charges. That's always appalled me, that. And it always shows, I think, even though the courts have dealt with this to a certain degree, it still shows the level of indoctrination that the institutions have around things like race and identity, that they are just totally blind or unwilling to tackle the reality of what's happening with these groups. During his 2 years of appalling abuse, dozens of girls as young as 12 were raped. Jailed for 6 years. I mean, only 6 years as well. You know, I mean, there was that guy, what was he called? Oh, Sam Millet. 2 years he got for stickers. for putting stickers up. 2 years in prison, and yet these guys are getting 6 for doing awful things to 12-year-old girls. It drives you mad, doesn't it? It's actually insane. Like, what the hell is going on with the system where you can do that to 12-year-old girls and only get 6 years in prison? Like, that is actually insane, isn't it? Like, I genuinely believe that he should be lined up against a wall and shot. Like, no right to appeal or nothing. Just not even a blindfold. Bang. I'd do it myself quite happily. If the government want to pay me to do that, I will do it. I will be a public executioner. I'll deal with this scum. I will sleep soundly at night as well. Rafe was ordered to be sent back to Pakistan alongside his rape gang associate Adil Khan, who impregnated a child amid his campaign of abuse. Both men of dual British Pakistan heritage have fought the deportation orders for almost a decade. See, again, I mean, this dual heritage thing as well, I don't get that. How can you be a dual citizen? You're either from one place or another. You can't be both. Like, it's an oxymoron, the term dual citizen. You're either a citizen of one place or you're a citizen of another. And it's just, again, craziness. They lost their case against deportation in 2018, but launched an appeal on human rights grounds. Oh, what a surprise! Human rights grounds. God forbid that the rapists don't get deported, eh? Who'd be able to cope if these horrible criminals didn't get their rights looked after? My goodness. However, they both remain in Britain, living alongside the girls they targeted during the years of abuse. Fred de Fossard, Director of Parliamentary Affairs at the Legatum Institute, said, Britain negotiates returns agreements with countries all over the world to ensure foreign national offenders and those without the right to remain can be deported with ease. This works well with countries like Vietnam and Albania, but there should be no exception made for Pakistan. There should just be a case, like I said, just chuck them on a plane and send them back. And if Pakistan don't want to take them at their end, well, that's their problem, I'm afraid. And these men are going to have to struggle in the airport for the rest of their lives. As far as I'm concerned, couldn't care less. He added, Pakistan has offered around 50,000 visas per year by the UK and receives billions in foreign aid and remittance. It is entirely sensible for the British government to use visa penalties as leverage to ensure the deportation of criminals like those convicted of grooming gang offences with Pakistan citizenship. These powers exist in law and the government should use... Yeah, but they won't. They won't, because they're scared of being labelled mean by particular political activists who don't particularly like the government anyway. And this is the thing that always surprises me about the Tories, is they care too much about what the political opponents think about them. Like, if somebody comes on watching my videos, if you want to disagree with me, that's absolutely fine. But if somebody comes on here and starts calling me a racist, I don't care. I genuinely don't care if you think that about me. And it's not that I'm accepting what you're saying about me. It's just that I don't care because you're clearly not engaging with my ideas and you're clearly not interested in debate or negotiating. So why should I care what you think? And this is the problem with the government. They care too much about people who aren't trying to negotiate with them. They care too much about people who actually hate them and would kill them. Like, there are actual activists, political activists, who would line up members of the Tory party and they would kill them. And the Tory party think that they can win them over. It's insane. They are damaged in the head, thinking that they can work with these people. They're probably overly socialised. And I think that's probably they haven't had enough strife in their life. They haven't been they haven't had to live on like the breadline, or they haven't been served in the military and been to a war zone or any other such thing, you know. So they just live in a fairyland where they've just been surrounded by like-minded people their entire lives and think everybody just wants to sort of work towards the same nebulous kind of goals and make money, and that's it. Like, they just haven't got a clue. Anyway, I'm going to leave that there. Like I say, I'll put the article below. Please do read it yourself. Obviously, as I always say, I could be wrong in my opinions. I don't think I am, but I could be wrong. If you do want to debate me, please put it in the comments. I am actually an open book, and if you are able to put forward a strong enough argument, I am willing to change my mind on things. So I'm not a closed book in that regards. But obviously, like I said, if you're just going to call me a racist or a bigot or whatever, I genuinely couldn't care less. That's up to you. You're welcome to do that as well in the comments. Please do. If you found that interesting, insightful, informative, or any of that other good stuff, please do like, subscribe. And as I always say, please do put comments below, because I love reading them and I love replying to them. Anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you and goodbye.